Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel ForexPnL, where we focus on making big profits and small losses. Today is Friday, the 26th of November 2021. It's 7:43 p.m. The markets have closed, and well, it's time for me to do my weekend forex market forecast for the upcoming week. And well, I think I have about 14 currency pairs that are giving me some structural levels to keep an eye on going into next week. But before we even take a look at the charts, let's go ahead and take a look at the economical calendar for the high impact news that we already have on schedule for next week. All right, so taking a look here, it's as if we already have some speeches. Okay, you can see from Fed Chair and Bank of Canadian Governor on Monday. And then on Tuesday, we have the GDP coming from the Canadian axis. Also, Powell testifies. And GDP also coming from the Australian axis. Actually, we have a significant deviation here. Okay, so this might move the markets depending on what the actual numbers are. Okay, and then on Friday, we have quite a busy schedule for the US dollar. And that's for the non-farm employment change. We also have the ISM manufacturing PMI coming out on Wednesday, something to keep an eye on. Then on Thursday, we have the OPEC meetings. Okay, this usually affects the oil, and therefore usually has an impact on the Canadian pairs, so that's something to keep an eye on going into next week. And then Friday, December 3rd, that's the big day. Okay, the first Friday of the month, and that's the non-farm payroll coming from the United States axis, and also the unemployment data as well coming from the United States axis. In addition to that, from the Canadian axis, we also have the employment and unemployment rates coming out from the Canadian axis. Okay, and we also have the ISM services PMI and treasury currency reports. Okay, so all of this we already have on the calendar for next week. So from a fundamental perspective, it is a busy week. So well, depending on how you trade, it's left for you to apply your trading methodology. But personally, I'll be keeping an eye on these fundamental releases, and I'll be navigating my trades accordingly. Remember, what I'm doing is just a forecast, guys. It's just personally how I see the markets. Okay, so you might have a completely different perspective from the forecast that I'm about to make, and that is fine. All right, this is just how I am seeing the markets. I don't want you to think that I'm saying this is what must happen in the markets. No one knows what is going to happen. We all see the markets from different lenses, and this is just how I am viewing the markets. All right, so without any further delays, guys, we will go into the charts. First up is going to be British pounds and US dollar. I'm going to be taking a look at the weekly charts. Now, if you guys remember last week, I told you guys pretty much as anticipated. After the formation of this pin bar last week on the weekly charts, I told you guys what I'm seeing is a possible push to the downside, deeper into this weekly demand zone that we have here. And you can see pretty much that's what happened this week. So this was a good one in my opinion. The bears in these markets, the markets closed around that 1.3350 institutional price level. And that is a good close in my opinion. All right, so the market is still bearish. Okay, in this particular case, what I'm seeing right now is a situation whereby maybe next week when the market opens early next week, we might get a push to the upside to fill up some of the supply zones that we have in the smaller time frames, maybe for a possible retest of 13400 institutional price level, and then maybe from there I expect the bears to maybe come into this market and start pushing the markets again to the downside, maybe for a possible retest of this return line of this falling channel. Okay, and then maybe from here maybe we might get a bounce to the upside. Who knows, only time will tell. But for now, the markets are looking bearish, at least from the weekly time frame. Now zooming into the daily charts, what do we have now? In the process of this move, guys, we now have a new supply zone, okay, that I have mapped out right here in this area. So it is very, very possible that we might get a push maybe to the downside from the 4-hour supply zone, or from here we might just get a reaction and then further push into the daily supply zone right around, let's say, that 134.50, 3500 area. Okay, before the market gives us another push to the downside. Okay, so only time will tell. Now looking into the 4 hours time frame, well, you can see this is that 4 hours supply zone. Okay, and from here, well, who knows, maybe when the market opens and we get a dip in here, we might get a reversal to the downside for further continuations to the downside. If that doesn't happen and we just get another push to the upside, well, that's another level that we can be selling from. All right, so let's see how the market goes. Okay, but that's pretty much what I'm seeing in British pounds and US dollar going into next week. All right, next up is going to be Euro US dollar. Okay, so for Euro US dollar, taking a look at the weekly time frame, guys. Now, we have this weekly demand zone that I had mapped out in this area. Okay, that was formed as a result of the break of this level of structure on our charts. Okay, so this weekly demand zone was formed, and well, right now price gave us a nice dip into that weekly demand zone, and you can see this week we have the markets closing a pin bar. Okay, so this week's price action closed a pin bar. Okay, and that's actually a bounce off of 1.1200 institutional price level. Okay, so that's well, something to keep an eye on. Okay, because in this area, I told you guys, at least I'm anticipating at the minimum a reaction maybe to the upside from here. But that being said, what this is showing me is that maybe early next week, maybe we might get a push to the upside. Who knows? Maybe into this particular supply zone, or maybe even higher. Okay, but this is a level that I'm going to be keeping an eye on, because maybe from right around here, it will not be surprising to me if the bears come back again into this market to take price again deep into this weekly demand zone. All right, so that's pretty much what I'm seeing from the weekly charts. Now, looking into the daily charts, well, we have two supply zones that I'm going to be keeping an eye on as we go into next week. Okay, I'm going to be keeping an eye into this daily supply zone that we have in this area. Yes, this is a little hidden, but I think it's still a valid supply zone right around that 1.1450 institutional price level, and also the big one here right around 1600 institutional price level. Okay, so well, you can see from here in the daily charts, the market was pretty much trending to the downside, forming supply zones all around the way, and then right around here you can see we have this final supply zone. Okay, so we have a supply zone in here. Okay, but then finally you can see from today's price action, we got a very nice push to the downside, closing price above this supply zone that we have here, and in that process, this now is a buying origin. So what I'm seeing next week is either, it depends on how the market moves. Okay, if the market opens and we first of all get a push to the downside, chances are that this buying origin that we have on the daily charts might hold before price gives us another push to the upside, maybe into this daily supply zone. Okay, then maybe from here, any reversals to the downside, I'll be looking for an opportunity to go short again for further continuations to the downside, at least for a potential retest of this previous swing low. That's what I'm seeing right now, at least from the daily charts. Okay, but what I'm seeing is well, it's looking more bullish, at least in the interim. Either the market opens and maybe from here we just continue to shoot to the upside. Okay, well, that's a possibility, but at the same time, this is a supply zone, so I won't be surprised if we get a dip to the downside into this daily buying origin before the bulls come into this market again to push price higher, maybe into this daily supply zone, or even into this daily supply zone that we have up here. Okay, any of the two daily supply zones is valid for further continuations to the downside. But again, as usual, I don't just place sell limit orders. Okay, I wait for price to give me a bounce, a confirmation that we're about to now start going to the downside before I pull the trigger. All right, so that's pretty much the levels that I'm seeing in euro dollar going into next week. Let's see how it goes. Now, next up is going to be Australian dollar US dollar. Now, in Australian dollar US dollar, I'm not going to waste your time. You can see that this currency pair pretty much has been moving to the downside. Okay, respecting supply zones that form in the process. Okay, and we keep breaking levels of support, okay, to the downside. That shows that the bears are in control in this market. You can see we have now taken off this particular level of support, or well, you can call it demand in this area, and right now we have this extreme level here, which is right around where the market closed for the week. Okay, so well, let's see how it goes. Do we get a very quick push to the downside when market opens to create further lows, or will the market respect that level of support and maybe give us a pullback to fill up some of the supply zones that we have in the smaller time frame, and then for further continuations to the downside? Okay, this would be my preferred course of action, okay, when the market opens next week. Now, going into the 4 hours time frame, okay, this is the level that I am keeping an eye on. Okay, let me show you guys. So this is the 4 hour supply zone that I'm going to be keeping an eye on right here. So what I would love to see right now is when the market opens, maybe we get a quick spike to 0.7100 institutional price level, and then from here we might get a bounce to the upside. Any push to the upside into this particular 4 hour supply zone, I'll be looking for reversals from here for further continuations to the downside, at least for a possible retest of the previous swing low that we have in this particular area. All right, that's pretty much my game plan for Australian dollar, US dollar going into next week. Now, next up is going to be New Zealand US dollar. Now, again, very similar to the Australian dollar, US dollar currency pair, I have a 4 hours level that I'm keeping an eye on here. Okay, now also this level here is valid. Okay, this right here is also valid. So I'm just going to say this region right around 0.6900 institutional price level. Okay, those are all valid levels in my own opinion. So if the market opens, maybe we get a push to the downside to 0.6800 institutional price level, and then from here we might get a push into this particular area, but anywhere right around 0.6900 institutional price level, if I get a reversal to the downside, I'll be looking for an opportunity to go short for further continuations to the downside. All right, that's pretty much my game plan for New Zealand US dollar. Now, next up is going to be US dollar Canadian dollar. Now, in US dollar Canadian dollar, if you guys remember, I think about 2 weeks ago, I was thereabouts, I took a trade short. Okay, I went short right around 1.2600. Well, I am now out of that position. I have minimized my loss on that particular trade. It didn't go as planned, and well, I am out of it for a little loss. Okay, that's nothing. All right, it's just a losing trade. Now, the markets are looking bullish in my opinion. So if we take a look at the monthly charts, okay, taking a look again, we have this monthly supply zone in this area that led to the break of this level of structure. Okay, so we have this level of structure in this area, and this move right here broke all of those. In the process, we created this monthly supply zone. So well, maybe that's what price is again giving us a push to the upside to retest that area. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on, let's say, 1.3000 institutional price level on US dollar Canadian dollar inside this monthly supply zone, and then from there I'll be expecting to see maybe some form of rejections from that area. Okay, but for now, what I'm seeing is a situation whereby price will continue giving us pullbacks to fill up demand zones that we have on the smaller time frames. Okay, and then from here we might get further continuations to the upside to manipulate maybe above these highs that we have in this area. Okay, into, let's say, this monthly supply zone, and also into that 1.3000 institutional price level. Okay, from where maybe we might get some significant push again to the downside. All right, who knows, only time will tell. All right, now moving into the daily time frame, or maybe actually into the 4 hours time frame. Okay, so moving into the 4 hours time frame, well, this is that demand zone that we have in the 4 hours time frame that was formed actually as a result of this break of structure right here. Right, so well, my game plan is very easy in US dollar Canadian dollar. I would love to see price give me a push to the downside. Okay, seems as if we are getting resistance off of 12800 area. So from here, I would like to see price give me a push to the downside into this particular 4 hours demand zone, and from here any reactions to the upside, bounces to the upside, I'll be looking for an opportunity to go long for further continuations to the upside. All right, that's pretty much my game plan in US dollar Canadian dollar. Now, next up is going to be British pound, some Japanese yen. Now, this pair is moving pretty much in a textbook manner, in my own opinion. All right, so if you guys remember, I told you that well, for this particular week, last week actually closed a pin bar, and I told you that, well, I would like to see price give me another push to the downside to manipulate clearly below these equal lows that we have on the daily charts, which I'm going to be showing you very soon. All right, and well, you can see that price gave us that dip into that particular weekly demand zone. All right, and right now, well, we are trading deep inside that weekly demand zone. That's all I'm seeing here, a bearish week And well, the bears are still in this market. The possibility is that we might get a nice push to the upside, maybe to fill up some of the supply zones that we have in this particular market, maybe right around maybe 152.50 institutional price level, 152.75 institutional price level. From there, maybe we might get another push to the downside, deeper, even deeper into this particular demand zone. All right, so let's see how that goes. But that's what I can see right now from the weekly charts. Now remember, we are playing right now inside a weekly demand zone, so well, it's also possible that markets might open next week and we might just get the markets, you know, continue to the upside in a very significant momentum. Who knows? But what I would love to see is for price to give me that push to the upside, to fill up supply zones, maybe another push to the downside before the bulls come into these markets. Okay, that's what I would love to see on the weekly charts. Now, going into the daily chart, not much. Okay, this is that area right here. We also have a demand zone right here on the daily charts. Okay, which is also something to keep an eye on. All right, now if we go into the 4 hours time frame, actually in the hourly time frame, not even the 4 hours, so we have this area. So this is going to be maybe possibly a trade that I'll be taking should things pan out well in London Monday morning. Okay, so well, if we get, let's say, a push to the upside, this is also a supply zone right here that led to the break of this level of structure. Okay, so it's very possible price might give us a push to 15200 area, and maybe we might get another swing to the downside, or maybe just enough to create a retracement before we get a quick spike to the upside to take off liquidity that is sitting above these equal highs that we have in this area, and then a dip into this 4 hours into this hourly supply zone, and then maybe from right around here 152.50 area we might get the bears to come into this market. This is what I would love to see early next week. Okay, hopefully that happens. If it happens, well, that's another trading opportunity. But if that doesn't happen, again, well, we just keep following the markets accordingly. But that's pretty much what I'm seeing right now in British pound, Japanese yen going into next week. Again, remember, this is just a forecast. The markets can open next week, and just from here we might either just continue to the upside or even continue to the downside. That is why you have to keep adapting as the market is moving. All right, now that's it for British pound, Japanese yen. Next up is going to be euro yen. All right, now for euro yen, what do we have here? Again, textbook in my own opinion. If you guys remember, we have this weekly demand zone that I had pointed out, and well, I told you guys that what I would love to see is for price to run below these equal lows that we have right around 128 institutional price level. And you can see, well, that happened in a textbook manner. When the markets opened for the week, we got a nice push to the upside to fill up some of the supply zones that we have on the smaller time frames, and then from there you can see the bears coming to this market on Friday and push the markets to the downside, manipulating below those equal lows, grabbing some liquidity, and well, that's pretty much textbook right now. Okay, the markets are still bearish. There is no reason for me to be looking for long opportunities at this particular level in the markets. Okay, so what I'd love to see this week is maybe another push to the upside, okay, and then another further push to the downside, okay, to dip into this weekly demand zone before maybe the bulls will now start showing themselves in this market for further continuations to the upside. That would be what I would love to see in this currency pair from the weekly time frame. All right, now in the daily, not much, honestly. We have this particular area right here. You can see we had this supply zone, okay, and well, price gave us that push into this particular supply zone, and then from here we got a nice push to the downside. I would not really consider this to be a supply zone, but it's very possible we might get price to give us a pullback towards, let's say, 128.80, 12900 area, and then from here again the markets might continue to drop to the downside, all right, into that weekly demand zone that we had identified earlier. So that's it. That's pretty much what I'm seeing in euro yen. Not much. Okay, next up is going to be New Zealand Japanese yen. All right, so for New Zealand Japanese yen, again, another interesting pair in my opinion. Very nice push into this weekly demand zone that we had identified, but you can see, even though this is a weekly demand zone, guys, this market, in my own opinion, it's looking bearish at this point. Just take a look at this week's candle. Okay, this is a full body candle, bearish candle. Okay, so I have no business trying to buy at this particular level. All right, I will be waiting for price to give me some form of confirmation before I start thinking of buying off of the weekly charts. Okay, for now, it is still looking bearish, and what I would love to see is for price to give me some form of a push to the upside to fill up some of the supply zones that we have in the smaller time frames, and then maybe give us another push to the downside deep into this weekly demand zone that we have in New Zealand Japanese yen. All right, now taking a look, let's say maybe at the daily charts, actually in the 4 hours time frame. What do we have here? We have a level here that I'm keeping an eye on, right around that 7,900 institutional price level. So well, what I would love to see is very simple. I would love to see price give me a push into this 7,900 institutional price level. Okay, anywhere from right around here. If I get a reversal to the downside, I'll be looking for an opportunity to go short for further continuations to the downside. All right, that's the game plan for New Zealand Japanese yen going into next week. Now next up is going to be Euro New Zealand. Now for Euro New Zealand, well, we got a very bullish week this week for Euro New Zealand. Okay, you can see how price gave us a very nice push to the downside, and well, this week we just had a very massive push to the upside. It's pretty much an engulfing candle. You can see how we got this bullish engulfing that engulfed last week's price action. All right, so well, the bulls are in this market, make no mistakes, but at the same time, what do we have? We also have price now sitting right around a weekly supply zone. Okay, you can see this level of structure that we have in this area. Okay, you can see this level of structure that was broken by this nice move to the downside and creating this weekly supply zone in the process. So price right now, even though we got this massive bullish move, okay, we are pretty much in the neighborhood of a weekly supply zone, from where, well, it will not be surprising to see the bears come into this market to start pushing price again to the downside. Okay, but what I'm seeing is a situation whereby maybe we might get a push to the downside enough to start filling up some of the supply demand zones that we have in the smaller time frames for maybe another possible attack to the upside. Okay, that's the game plan. That's what I would love to see in Euro New Zealand going into next week. All right, now going into the smaller time frame. All right, in the 4 hours time frame, we have this particular Haverford demand zone. All right, right around institutional price level of 1.6400. Now well, who knows, maybe this hourly demand zone might hold price, and then we might get another push to the downside into this 4 hours demand zone area, from where maybe the markets might give us a nice push to the upside. Who knows? But I'm keeping an eye on this particular 4 hours demand zone. Okay, any reactions from here, any push to the downside into this 4 hours demand zone, and we get any reversals from here, I'll be looking for an opportunity to go long for further continuations to the upside. Okay, now in the hourly time frame, I'm also going to be keeping an eye on this particular demand zone right around institutional price level of 1.6450. now from here, if we get price to give us a push to the downside into here, any particular reactions that we get, reversals to the upside, I'll be looking for an opportunity to go long for further continuations to the upside as well. Okay, so these are demand zone areas that I am interested in. Okay, again, remember, we have the supply zone, so well, keep an eye on that weekly supply zone, because from here the markets can easily just plummet and clear all of these demand zones without even giving us any signals for further continuations to the upside. Okay, it's very, very possible, but for now, I don't like to catch a falling knife, so well, I will still be keeping an eye on buying this pair until there is a clear reversal from the longer time frames that we are now probably going to be going to the downside. All right, but for now, I am still bullish off of these demand zones that I have identified. Okay, now that's it for Euro New Zealand. Next up is going to be British Pounds and New Zealand Dollar. Now for British Pounds, New Zealand Dollar, what do we have? It's very similar to the Euro New Zealand currency pair, in my opinion. If we go into the weekly time frame, what do we have here? Well, again, very nice level of structures that was broken by this move to the downside, creating this supply zone in the process. I didn't even mark that out, but this is the supply zone that I'm talking about. Okay, all right, so this is the weekly supply zone. All right, again, very bullish week. Price gave us a very nice push to the upside into this weekly demand supply zone. All right, so well, it will not be impossible for the BS to start coming in from here, but again, because of how bullish we are, I'll be waiting for price to give me some reactions off of the demand zones that we have in the smaller time frame for maybe another potential attack to the upside. All right, but from this particular weekly demand zone, it is also possible that we might get another push to the downside. Who knows? Only time will tell. Now, moving into the 4 hours time frame, I have identified this key 4 hours demand zone that I'll be keeping an eye on. To be honest with you, even this one sitting above is valid as well, and even this one right here is valid. But again, because we are trading inside a weekly supply zone, I would prefer the deeper 4 hours demand zone. Okay, so well, I would love to see price give me a push towards, let's say, 193.50, 193.00 area. Any reactions from here to the upside, bounces, reversals, I'll be looking for an opportunity to give me another push to the upside, okay, for further continuations to the upside, at least into this particular weekly demand zone again. All right, but again, I'll be keeping very modest targets because, well, we are now trading in a weekly demand, in a weekly supply zone from where the markets can easily turn around and it may give us another push to the downside. Okay, who knows? Only time will tell. Now, that's pretty much the game plan for British pound New Zealand. Next one is going to be British pound Australian dollar. If you guys remember, last week I told you guys I'll be keeping an eye at, I think, 1.8600 level. I think I had like a falling channel in this neighborhood. Okay, and well, I told you that, well, if from here we get a push to the downside, reversal to the downside, that I'll be looking for an opportunity to go short. But at the same time, I think I remember that I also pointed out the fact that we have this demand zone right here, okay, in the 4 hours time frame right here, and that if price remains above this demand zone, we are not yet bearish. Okay, so that's a good guide, and you can see price remain pretty much above that particular demand zone, ranged above it, and from there we are now getting another push to the upside. Right now my bias has now changed to bullish, and well, we have this demand zone that was formed as a result of this break of structure right here. Okay, so well, what I would love to see right now is for price to give me a pullback from here into this 4 hours demand zone, and then anywhere from, let's say, 1.8550, 8500 institutional price level. If we get any reversals to the upside, I'll be looking for an opportunity to go long for further continuations to the upside. That's pretty much my game plan right now for British pounds Australian dollar. Now, next up is going to be Australian dollar Canadian dollar. I'm not going to waste your time here. We can see that price pretty much got into some form of consolidation in this currency pair, and again, this is the 4 hours time frame. Okay, so this is the consolidation that I am referring to right here. We got a nice push to the upside right here to manipulate above these equal highs that we have in this area, and then from here, what do we have? Another push to the downside that finally gave us a break of this level of structure that we have to the left. So this 4 hour supply zone was formed in the process right around 0.9150 institutional price level. Okay, so what I would love to see right now is for price to give me well, a nice pullback, okay, into that particular supply zone that we have on the 4 hours time frame, right around that 0.9150 level. Any reversals from there, I'll be looking for an opportunity to go short for further continuations to the downside. That's pretty much my game plan for Australian dollar Canadian dollar going into next week. Now, next up is going to be New Zealand Swiss francs. Okay, New Zealand Swiss francs, again, I'm not going to waste your time, guys. I have this 4 hour supply zone here. What I would love to see right now is for price to give me a push to the upside, okay, into that 4 hour supply zone right around, let's say, 0.6400 institutional price level. Anywhere from right around there. If I get any reversals to the downside, I'll be looking for an opportunity to go short for further continuations to the downside. Now, next up is going to be New Zealand Canadian dollar, and this is the last currency pair that I'm going to be analyzing today. Well, if you take a look, it's very similar to the other New Zealand crosses, where we are right now. All I'm waiting for is for price to give me a pullback to this 4 hour supply zone. Okay, we had this pretty much sideways movement, and then finally the markets gave us a nice break of this particular area. All right, creating this supply zone in the process. Okay, so what I would love to see right now is for price to give me a push into this particular supply zone. Okay, this one right here is also very valid, right around 800 institutional price level. Okay, because this is actually the supply zone that led to the break of this level of structure. So we can bounce off of, let's say, 8750 area, or price might give us a push to the upside into 8800 institutional price level, from where any reversals from here, I'll be looking for an opportunity to go short for further continuations to the downside. All right, at least for a possible retest of this previous swing low. Alright guys, that's pretty much it from my own end. Hopefully you gained some value from this particular video, and if you did guys, please do not forget to click on that like button, subscribe to my channel, smash that notification bell so that you will always receive updates whenever I post a video. Cheers and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye bye.